I can't play The Sims 4 without mods anymore for so many reasons. Whether it's for general gameplay experience improvements or even to fix the game, there are some mods that I very highly recommend you install, so I've compiled them all together in this video for you. I'm not going to show you how to technically add mods into your game in this video, there are many tutorials on here already for that, so I'll link one in the description for you to watch after this video if you don't already know how. We'll start with some more essential, well-known mods that affect general quality of life, but then we'll move on to some pack-specific mods and then some smaller mods that I absolutely love that I couldn't go without. So let's get started. First off, we have control any sim. It's pretty self-explanatory, but it allows you to temporarily control any sim by adding them to the panel down here, but it does it without adding them to your household. It just adds them to your control for as long as you need. Say you're on a date or hanging out with a sim and you need them to stop doing something dumb that's breaking the immersion for you, then you can just take control of them, cancel the action and carry on. I know you'll find it super frustrating when something isn't going to plan and we have no control over it, so this one's a lifesaver. Say I want to make this bartender really mean, I can add them to my control temporarily, right click here and add the trait using my second recommended mod, UI Cheats. UI Cheats makes it possible to right click on most of what you can see on the UI or user interface to modify it, including needs, personality traits, skills, weather, time of day, almost anything you can see. If you like playing God like me, this one is pretty essential. Some super useful mods are these ones by Twisted Mexi that activate certain cheats by default. I do play with cheats often, so not having to activate them every single time is really helpful. If you're building with the moves objects on one, just keep in mind that if you're building, objects won't snap onto the grid anymore, so sometimes they won't be fully functional depending on the object, but that can easily be turned back off if you don't need it on just by typing into the cheat console. A really obvious and well-known one is MC Command Center by Deadpool, which I just feel like I have to mention despite the fact you've probably already heard of this. This adds a menu to several parts of the game, allowing you to take further control over the population, game mechanics and more. Something I personally really like to use with this one is the family relationship section, which allows you to add another sim as a relative to the sim you've selected, which is so useful for storytelling without having to manually do it through Create a Sim. So for example, if I want to set Nancy and Joffrey Landgrab as Johnny Zest's biological parents, I can do that so easily without having to add them into the same household, edit their relationships and move him out again, which would take so long it's not even worth it. There's many ways you can use this mod. I'm not going to go too much into detail because there's a lot and there's entire videos dedicated to explaining it, but basically if you want more general control over your game, then this one is pretty essential. Another honourable mention is Wonderful Whims, which adds a huge amount of gameplay, its own relationship, attractiveness and impression systems, as well as an upgraded woohoo system, birth control and a menstrual cycle. You can add attractiveness preferences in Create a Sim, which I think is a real shame we didn't get in Lovestruck. Another mod that expands on romance is Relationship and Pregnancy Overhaul, which in my opinion is very underrated. It's actually a collection of mods that you can cherry pick if you only want to download part of it, but some of the features include pregnancy preferences, paternity testing, a whole jealousy and cheating system, temporary separations, pregnancy side effects, and so many more interactions. I love this one for dramatic storytelling. Now, I've got to mention a couple of Create a Sim mods, of course. First, we have more cast columns, which basically does exactly what it says on the tin. You get a wider panel for all of the Create a Sim items, which means you spend way less time scrolling. To be honest, I can't believe there's only 2 in the vanilla version of the game. It always shocks me when I load back after an update and forget to turn my mods back on, so I'm really grateful for this one. Then we have Stand Still in CAS. So technically you can actually do this without mods just by typing CAS clock speed 0 into the cheat console, but this disables every animation. If you just want your sim to keep still when you're editing them and stop these silly animations, but you don't want to completely freeze time in Create a Sim, then this mod just puts them into a nice neutral pose without stopping them blinking or any of the non-idle animations. One of my absolute favourite mods is this one called Home Regions. Personally, I really like going to a world and finding sims working there that actually live there. It just feels way more immersive. And what this mod allows you to do is basically lock sims to a world so they don't autonomously peer anywhere else. This one has been coming in so handy for making my save file and designing sims for certain worlds, and I highly recommend it if you like feeling a bit more immersed when you're visiting different areas. Staying on the topic of NPCs, a really great mod is Assign NPC Jobs, which basically allows you to set NPC roles manually to any sim you want. It can be anything you want, from high school teacher to pub owner to even an Agnes Crumplebottom. Some of these require the original sim to be deleted when you give them the tag because there can only ever be one at once. If you're like me and you get super confused in remembering where a certain interaction is in this mess of a social menu, you might like this next one. It's the Smarter Pie menu by Teamex, which allows you to easily search the supply menu by using a text search. I can't tell you how many times this one saved me. There can be so many interactions to navigate through if you're searching for one specific one, especially if you've got a ton of mods and packs like me, so this can be so helpful. Speaking of packs, there are some mods that I have in my folder that are pack specific that I really recommend you get. Starting with one of the most broken packs, I have a couple of mods that fix Dine out. This first one prevents your sim from having to pay when another sim invites you out to a date or a hangout, which made no sense honestly. And the second one makes the chefs cook much faster. This is part of the reason why it takes so long for your sims to have a meal at the restaurant. And then there's a few mods that I use to fix seasons, starting with change into everyday clothes when inside, which is pretty self-explanatory, but if you don't know what I mean, it's basically just if you give your sim a cold weather outfit and they come inside, they don't automatically change into their everyday wear when they're out of the cold, which I always hated. So this mod just reworks the logic to make sense and basically gets your sims to take their coats off when they come inside. This next one should have been a basic feature in the pack, but if your sim wears a raincoat and they go outside in the rain without an umbrella, they can still get soaked to the bone and come inside dripping wet for like an hour. Like, why even have raincoats if they're not functional? Well, this mod does exactly that. If they're wearing raincoats, they don't need an umbrella to stay dry. Also, if your sims celebrate Winterfest, you'll know that you can only open one present from the present pile per 3 hours per sim, which is insanely slow, especially if you're playing with a big family. This mod gets rid of the cooldown so you can open as many presents as you want. After all, it's Christmas, let them live a little. A really fun one if you do have seasons and outdoor retreat is this Perfumery mod by Simsonian, which comes with functional perfume that you can purchase or even make yourself. And when you apply perfume, it will give your sim a mood look, which is so cool and really handy if you're sending your sim out on a date. And it comes with a perfume making skill you can build and unlock new recipes in. And sims can also make themselves deodorant if they need to quickly freshen up on the go. So this next one works without packs, but it comes in particularly handy when you're playing in shared spaces like a dormitory in university life. It allows you to claim your own objects, so it prevents any other sims from autonomously coming into your room and using your personal belongings, which just wouldn't happen. Another handy one for Discover University is choose your own roommates. It just makes sense to be able to choose a certain sim if you have someone already in mind. I also found that my sims were going to their after lessons clubs way too often. The schedule was a little bit too chaotic, so I used this other smaller mod which makes the school activities just once per week, which I think is way more realistic. You can also use this mod for high school years, and speaking of, I cannot play this pack without this next mod anymore. It's Choose Your Classmates, which allows you to choose and set permanent classmates for both classes. Personally, I really didn't like how it would shuffle your class members every day without this mod. I want my sims to have permanent classmates that they can become friends with. I also use this mod that ups the limit for the amount of sims per class and per school activity so it feels less empty, and active classes, which gives your sims interactions to do during the class, so high school is a little bit less of a boring experience. The other mod I recommend for this pack is No High School Situation outfit. Students kept turning up in some crazy outfits every day and not changing into their after school activity outfits, and this mod just cleared that up for me. For the Cats and Dogs expansion pack, but also Horse Ranch, if you want to be able to control your pets like we could in The Sims 3, there's a mod called Playable Pets, which I can't imagine not having anymore. You can now take control of your pets and play them like a regular sim, which is so much better, and it unlocks a ton of interactions that are normally locked. For example, you can command your dogs to poop wherever and whenever they want, which is probably my favourite thing to do with this mod. I also have this mod which prevents sad, dirty and homeless pets from spawning in Brindleton Bay. It was a bit of a bummer for me and a bit too real. If you've ever played with Eco Lifestyle for more than 5 minutes, you've likely had enough of this really annoying paper bag on head neighbourhood action plan, which causes every single sim in the neighbourhood to walk around with a paper bag on their head. So I found a mod that completely gets rid of this infuriating feature. You are welcome. And one last one I will mention before getting onto some more general mods is the Do More with Earbuds for the Fitness Pack mod. I really love this one because it allows our sims to do more with their music playing, like when they're jogging for example. So now I want to mention some more general mods that are definitely worth a mention because they either fix things in game or add some really nice touches. Ravasheen has a lot of great mods, but one of my favourites is this photographic memory one, which allows you to create so many cool items from your sims pictures. They can even recall memories when they view them, which gives them a little moodlet. It also allows you to edit the really annoying blurs and gnomes that appear on your photos when your sim has a low photography skill. They also have another mod called Lamazon, which is just like Amazon, and it brings better online shopping to The Sims 4, which is so handy when you want to buy a gift but you don't want to go scrolling through Build Buy or choose from a book or an apple. If you don't have Lovestruck and or you don't like Cupid's Corner, there's a mod that adds online dating to The Sims 4 called Simda. It doesn't have an interface, but it allows you to set up dates or straight up booty calls for your sims really easily. You can select a random sim if your sim has 0 standards, or you can manually pick one from the menu. Something that always bugged me is how you can invite Sims to come over to your place, but you can't ask a Sim if you can visit theirs. So this little mod allows you to do just that. You can just do it via your contacts, instead of having to try and remember where exactly they live and visit the lot via the world map. And similarly, if you want to call a Sim over on the same lot as you, and like me, you're really annoyed when the game decides that a Sim is allegedly too far away, this little mod adds a bigger range for calling Sims over. This mod allows you to send your Sims on a walk, just like you can send them on a jog, and sending them on a walk will reduce any negative movelets they have, just like in real life. And teens and children will gain extra emotional control from this one too. And finally, if you hate getting random Sims just walk into your house, you need this next mod, which adds an easy interaction on the door that allows you to kick all visitors from the lot without having to walk up to each Sim and ask them, which personally doesn't always work. So there we have it. Those were some of my favourite mods for The Sims 4, and this list was far from exhaustive because I couldn't fit them all in one video. I could even make a series out of this telling you which mods to download per pack. I really hope you enjoyed this video. All of my links will be down in the description if you do want to support my channel or find me somewhere else, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye guys!